There is one thing in this world that can be proven as undeniable, undisputable, and just flat out completely true. It is this fact alone. Every gamer on this planet has that one video game that they consider to be their absolute favorite. For me, that video game is none other than Mega Man X on the Super Nintendo. No, I'm not saying it's the greatest game ever made, but damn does it come pretty close. If you're like me and everyone else that grew up in the 80s and 90s, you know damn well who Mega Man is. He had a huge impact on the original NES all the way back in 1987, chugged out 5 more sequels, and even had some really good Game Boy titles. But then the 16-bit era hit, and Mega Man just exploded. See what I did there? Yeah, I had played the original Mega Man games, and I wasn't really all too sure what Mega Man X was gonna be all about. I mean, he just looked like Mega Man, except a lot more Power Ranger-y. But Jesus Christ. This game did what, in my opinion, so many sequels of even modern-day gaming fail to absolutely do. They pay homage to their original form, and then build atop of it and make it even better. Looking at you, Last of Us Part 2. Like, honestly, it still blows my mind how even in the modern day era of gaming, that they can just absolutely take something that has all the potential in the world and just absolutely flush it down the toilet with its sequel. Mega Man X is an example of a sequel not only done right, but opening the doors to even more potential with its franchise. I'm not going to go into detail about how Mega Man X does exactly what its predecessor does by teaching you how to play the game through playing the game. I know, it's a crazy concept, you know? What I am going to speak of is this. This game's been out since 1993. I've been playing it since release. It's 2020, and I still go through this game multiple times. And I never, ever tire of it. So what was the first thing that grabbed me? That freaking title screen. I get into the intro stage and immediately I am blown away by how good this music is. And to this day, I consider the first stage of Mega Man X to be the actual theme song of X himself. So I'm going through the stage, blasting down enemies. I already knew how to do a charge shot because, like I said, I had played previous Mega Man games in the earlier 90s and later 80s. And then I learned how to do the wall jump, which was one of the new features of the game. And then when I met Vile at the end, or who I thought was Purple Boba Fett, I immediately was struck down. I didn't know what to do because there was no enemy life bar, and I had no clue whether I was damaging him or not. And then this happened. Now, I had no clue who this character was. All I know is he looked awesome. I also thought it was a girl at first. Many of us did. So after meeting up with this new character, whose name is Zero, by the way, X says the only line of dialogue that he says in the entirety of the game, and yet the gravity behind his statement is such a heavy one. I guess I'm not powerful enough to defeat him. Now, I didn't think too much of this when I was a kid, but as I got older, it showed me something that separated not only the Mega Man X games from the original Mega Man games themselves, but it showed me that X himself is a character with depth, something the original Mega Man completely lacked. Not that the original Mega Man was a bad character, it's just he was kind of a one-note character. Bad things are happening, go save the world, because he's the good guy. With X, you see something that wasn't really prevalent with a lot of protagonists at the time in video gaming, and that was the fact that he actually showed doubt in his own abilities. He doubted himself from not being able to stop Vile and having to have Zero rescue him, and not knowing if he was going to be able to stop the enemy Mavericks from then on out. Thankfully, a pep talk from Zero pulls him right out of his funk, telling him that he can become stronger if he pushes on through and prevails over his obstacles. If that's not a good message for kids, I don't know what is. So right then and there, the tone of Mega Man X is laid plain to see. X must defeat the enemy Mavericks, become stronger, find the upgrades, find his armor pieces, meet Sigma in the end, and defeat the Mavericks and save the world. But as I'm nearing the end, storming the enemy fortress, ready to take down Sigma and save the world from the Mavericks, something unpredictable happens. In a moment of complete selfless sacrifice, Zero once again saves you from Vile, opening the door for you to defeat your nemesis once and for all. Zero's sacrifice is felt throughout the entire rest of the game. Your buddy, your friend, your hero is gone. Inevitably, X defeats Sigma and saves the world from the Maverick menace. Afterwards, he stands on a cliffside and watches as Sigma's fortress goes down in flames. And then, the next big emotional hammer gets dropped. X doesn't stand there and revel in his glory and triumph. He stands there contemplating, sorrowful, mournful even. His friend Zero is gone, saving his life twice in this grand adventure. Sure, X attained all of this power, but at what cost? He then wonders, is this only the beginning of greater conflicts to come? And wonders if he's going to have to continue fighting and destroying and watching more and more people die until finally peace can be attained. And then it makes you wonder, what price is high enough to be paid for peace to happen? Little did I know at the time, but as the years would go by, X's humanity will be explored to even greater depths. For better or for worse. Not saying this franchise is perfect, but man, what a way to introduce not only a new franchise, but a new character from a already established franchise, and then give him depth that was so rarely seen in those early days of video gaming. So I know I rattled on for about 6 minutes on why I think Mega Man X is such a great and deep character, and I haven't really talked about why I think the rest of the video game is such a great video game, because, hey, story alone does not make a great video game, right? Super Nintendo games were known for having some of the tightest controls in video game history, and Lord knows Mega Man X is no exception to the dashing, which in my opinion is a welcomed change from the slide of Mega Man days of old, to the addition of wall jumping, to the much more rapid firing pace of his buster shots. The controls of Mega Man X are some of the finest in gaming. The music, not only some of the finest in gaming, but some of the best out of the entire franchise as a whole. I still go back to this day and listen to a few of these. They are that kickin'. Listen to a few of them. The bosses of the Mega Man X franchise were actually designed after animals, and quite frankly, my god, these designs are absolutely freaking incredible! They vary in size, their details take full advantage of the 16-bit system itself, their abilities range from different kinds of attacks, and not only that, but the weapons they give are just mwah! Last but not least, and the last thing I ever learned about Mega Man X was the super awesome secret that I only learned when a buddy told me all the way back in elementary school. After gathering every ability, every piece of armor, every heart container, every E-tank, you are given one of the best secret weapons in a video game ever. The Street Fighter Hadouken. My poor little brain exploded with excitement knowing that I could use the signature move of one of the coolest fighting game characters in history, and not only that, but it could one-shot enemies and even one-shot bosses, as long as you stayed at full health. So in closing, yes, Mega Man X is my favorite video game ever. I will continue to play this game until the day I die and am buried with it. And it really gives truth to this phrase right here. There's a difference between something old and something classic. The thing that's old, you might not want to do ever again. And it hasn't aged well, and quite frankly, it's out of date. But when something is classic, you want to do it forever. Thanks for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed this retro rambling, or whatever the hell I'm going to call this. And we'll see where we go from here. So thanks for joining me, and you have a wonderful shway day, baby. See you later.